Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today. This is going to be the last awards webinar from me for the year until 2026. Today, we're going to be talking all about the HCM Excellence Awards. That launch date is going to be January 5th. We'll walk through the application from start to finish, and we have had quite a few changes. So if you submitted last year and you're looking to submit this year, you will see some differences on that submission form. In the layout, we've added a few things like a checklist, and I'll go over all of those with you today. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat throughout the webinar, and I'll take a look at that at the end and answer any questions if there are any. You can also email our team, awards@brandonhall.com, or me directly, sam.rome@brandonhall.com, and we will be happy to answer your questions. All right, so thank you again for joining today, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so today we're going to just cover the Excellence Awards. We'll talk a little bit about how we judge these applications. We'll walk through the criteria, the application process, go over some benefits, questions, and then we do have a lot of new awards resources like this webinar today, and we'll be continuing these in 2026 with some new additions. So I'll go over some of those other resources that you have available as you do walk through our application process for our different awards programs throughout the year. Okay, just to start off, these are our four main awards programs if you don't know about them all already. Starting off, we have the HCM Excellence Awards. Again, that launch date is going to be January 5th. And that awards program is really designed for organizations that have outstanding programs that you're looking to submit. We have 8 different program areas you can submit under, such as learning and development, leadership development, talent acquisition and management, human resources, sales performance, future of work, and DEI. And within that, we have about 130 different categories you can choose from. So that is part of the process too, is to make sure you pick the right category or categories to submit for. And again, our team is always here to support you with that process. The deadline to complete your application is going to be April 10th, and then we'll do those announcements August 13th. Following that, we'll have our Technology and our Education Technology Awards. Those two programs do run at the same time and under the same cycle. Those are going to open up April 20th. That deadline to submit is going to be September 4th, and then we will go ahead and announce all those winners December 3rd of 2026. And lastly, our Excellence in Action program that was brand new this year. We had a lot of great participation and a lot of great applications this year. So definitely take a look at that if you didn't submit last year. That's really designed to highlight the voices of employees, and it's very different than our other programs. With that one, you're able to submit things like employee testimonial videos, organizational impact stories, and really highlight those voices of your employees and how it's making a difference in the organization. All right. And then again, the HCM Excellence Awards, that the launch date is going to be January 5th, so that's coming up pretty soon here. On that date, what we'll do is we will open up the submission portal. So that'll be the first time you can log in, create your applicant profile, and really look at all of the parts that you'll want to submit besides the submission form that we'll go over today. The submission form is the main part of the application. That's what the judge panel is going to be looking at and scoring. But there are some other things you can do to better your chances of winning an award and being recognized, and to really enhance your application. One of those is going to be that we have a section for the HCM awards where it's optional, but you can upload up to 3 additional materials. Those could be videos, PowerPoints, links to a website, anything really that's going to support your program and give the judge panel a better understanding of how it works. So definitely take advantage of that section if you have those materials available for your application. And then again, that deadline is going to be April 10th to submit. Okay. The HCM program has a dedicated focus on entries for corporate training, learning, talent, HR, DEI, sales enablement, and those other program areas that I mentioned shortly, or just a little bit ago. You can either enter alone or you can enter with a helping organization. If your organization is considered a solution provider for this program, you will need to enter with a corporate client. If you do win that award, we will recognize both of you. In our announcements, we'll recognize you both separately, and we'll present you both with badges, certificates, and all of those award credentials if you win that award. All right, and then this is just a glimpse of some of our judges from our judge panel. We also do have a judge panel page for every awards program that we do. We have that updated for 2025, so if you're ever interested in what members are on the panel, you can definitely take a look. We also do judge highlights and things like that. We do posts on LinkedIn about some of our really outstanding judges, a lot of which have been with us for a long time judging. So if you ever want to kind of see a little bit more about those judges, feel free to check out our Brandon Hall Group LinkedIn page or those website pages to see a little bit more detail, their titles, where they work, things like that. All right. And then what does our judge panel really consist of? So all of our judges have to go through a certification process, an interview process, have to meet in certain education and experience, years of experience in the industry. They have to be able to judge all across all of our different program areas and categories. It's made up of industry analysts, corporate professionals, learning and HR practitioners, academic professionals, expert consultants. And again, they go through that certification process and they are very well informed of what they're looking for in the applications. So we'll want to make sure to focus on those criteria as that's how we instruct our judge panel to score applications. All right, and then to get started, for this presentation today, I picked the category Best Certification Program that is going to be under Learning and Development for our HCM Excellence Awards. I chose one specific category because for HCM Excellence Awards, all of the submission forms are specific to the category that you're submitting under. So you do want to make sure when you download those forms, you're downloading the right one and that you're really reading through those different descriptions and criteria throughout that whole application when you're submitting. You'll want to make sure you thoroughly review each of the criteria. So for the HCM, we are going to have 5 main criteria, but again, these descriptions over here to the right are going to change per category. Those 5 are going to be fit to the needs, design of the program, delivery of the program, measurable benefits, and overall. And that's really, you want to make sure to focus on each one. In a second here, I'll go into the scoring a little bit, but each category, each criteria is going to be scored by the judge panel. And that combination of points, once it goes through the whole judging process, is going to determine the score of your application and therefore the award level if you do win an award. Okay, so as I was mentioning, we do have a scale of 1 to 6 for each of these different criteria, with a total of 30 points maximum that you could win for an award. 30 points would be considered a perfect score on an application. So to win a gold award, you would need to earn 28 to 30 of those points. Silver is going to be 25 to 27. Bronze is going to be 22 to 24, and anything under that is going to be considered a non-winning application. Something else I always recommend is to go ahead and ask our team for feedback after an award submission. Even if you do win a 30 out of 30, it can never hurt to get that feedback from our judge panel on your application as they really went through from start to finish, reviewed all of your materials. It's a third-party perspective on your application and your program, so that feedback can always be beneficial. So feel free to reach out to us for any of our awards programs year-round. And we do provide that after the announcements. We can't provide it before, but we're happy to provide it for you afterwards. Okay, and then to start off with our application, the first thing you're going to want to do is pick your category. If you have any questions about picking category, any specific about your program, I won't answer those on this webinar today, but feel free to reach out to me or our team or at any point throughout the year if you're kind of going back and forth between categories. Our team is happy to help recommend categories for you, kind of walk through, the story of your program, how you want to present that, and where it might be a really good fit. So again, you want to make sure you pay attention to the category and choose the correct one for yours because you really want to make sure that when you're telling the story of your program, that you are putting your best foot forward in your application. You want to make sure you read through all of these descriptions. We will be releasing our 2026 brochure shortly. However, any of the submission forms you download that are available on the website right now are going to be accurate for 2026. So you can also take a look at them that way. They're going to be at the top of every submission form. All right, for all of our categories across the board for HCM, we are going to have these same instructions. That's the one part of the submission form that does remain the same. These are going to have things like the font, the point size that you want to have your font in, kind of a suggestion on pages. That one we do get a lot of questions about, so I'll just address that now. We do recommend 15 to 20 pages for every application. However, if you go a little bit over, a little bit under, that's fine. It's really just a suggestion because that's a good target mark for how much content you'll want to provide in your application. But this section is important because it does kind of just give you those guidelines of how your application should come out when you submit it. Okay, and then this section is going to be new this year. We did add this to the submission form, and it's just a little bit of a submission checklist. There's 4 main steps. You want to make sure you go through all of these before you click that submit button in the application. Once you do click submit, your application is final, and it will automatically move on to the judging panel. All right, so that first part of the checklist is going to be to upload your completed entry form. So the submission form we're going over today, that Word document, you want to make sure, of course, that you upload that form. Complete the online application. So that's going to launch again. We'll open up that application January 5th, and that's where you're going to fill in things like applicant contact information, billing details, some information about your organization, a summary of your entry. And then at the end, we'll ask you to confirm how you would want your company or company names presented if you do win that award, your entry title, which category you submitted for, things like that. So you want to make sure you fill out all of those fields. Our application won't let you proceed without filling out the mandatory fields, but you want to just make sure you double check those and have your information in there correctly. That is how we'll reach out to you after or with any awards updates for that application cycle. Again, these are the links I was referring to earlier. For the HCM Excellence Awards, you have the option of uploading up to 3. I always do recommend it. It can really only help enhance your application and give the judge panel a better understanding of your program and how it works. And then confirm your payment process. So when you submit your application, our system will automatically send you an invoice. You can go ahead and complete that link. And then when you do complete payment, when you log into that submission portal again, it'll let you know the payment is complete and your application is submitted. If you have any questions about that or are unsure, just want to confirm with our team, you can always feel free to reach out to me or awards@brandonhall.com, and we are happy to give you that confirmation that we successfully received your submission. All right, the first section of the submission form, this is going to be pretty standard across all the categories, is going to be the entry overview. So that's where you're going to enter your entry title, the name of the entering organization, and the name of the helping organization. So again, if you are a corporate company and you're not submitting with a solution provider or a vendor, you can just enter this here and leave this section blank. If you are jointly entering, you'll want to enter that here as well. Optional PR is going to be if there were any PR companies that helped assist with this program in any way that you want to mention or have mentioned with that award win, you can enter them here. Again, that's going to be an optional section. So if you don't have that information, that's fine to leave that blank or put NA in that section. You'll go ahead and put the date and then you'll put a brief description of your entry. It can be very short, and that's really just to kind of give the judge panel a start of what they're going to be looking at for your program today. Okay, and then the company background section is important. That's where you're going to fill out the primary entering organizations, all of the information. So headquarters, year founded, revenue, employees, global scale, customer output, industry, stock symbol, or website. Again, if any of these you need to leave blank, that's okay. We also do get questions a lot about things like revenue and that confidential material. So anything that is confidential, you can highlight in red or you can exclude it if need be. If you click yes to publishing permission in the application, what that's going to give us is the ability to publish your application if you are an award winner in our member center, where members of Brandon Hall Group can access that research. You can also click no. The judge panel does not see that section, so it's up to you if you want to click yes or no to publishing. It will not affect the scoring of your application at all. But if you do want it published and certain parts redacted, go ahead and highlight that in red. Okay, and then we have the same section again. That's going to be, again, if you're doing a joint submission and have additional company information to provide, you'll enter all of that here. All right, and then the budget and time frame. This is going to be a section across all the categories as well, where you'll include those budget and time frame details. You know, the overall budget, the number of employees involved with the implementation, number of operations or subject matter expert employees involved with the implementation, number of contractors, time to implement, and the start date of your program that you're submitting for. Okay, and then getting into the criteria. So the first criteria, again, we're specifically today going to focus on that best certification program submission form. It's going to be fit to the needs. And in this area, you're going to describe the business conditions and the business needs that led the organization to create this certification program. So, you know, what was the need for this program? What was that gap? How did this program address that need? How is it bettering the organization as a result? This is where you're really going to start off the story of your program. So you want to make sure you really explain all those key details that the judge panel needs to understand about the importance of how this program came about. and that's going to be the beginning of your application. We also have this overview section. It's going to be included in criteria one, and that's where you're just going to provide a description of the program. Specifically, today we're focusing on certification program, and how it's impacted the organization as a whole. Okay. And then moving on to criteria two, that's going to be the design of the program. So you're going to discuss how the certification program was designed for its audience. This is where you can highlight things like challenges and obstacles you may have faced in that design. We know that that happens when you're designing a program. So feel free to talk about some of those and how you overcame those throughout the story of your program here as well. That gives the judge panel a better understanding of, how the program came about, how it ended up where it is today. And it's a good place to kind of start mentioning that as you're building your application and your narrative here. Okay, criteria three is going to be delivery of the program. So you're going to use this area to discuss how the program was deployed to its audience. So if you maybe tried different methods of deployment, you can discuss that, which one worked the best and why. And then what was your final delivery method that you decided on with this program? Really go into some detail there, give the judge panel a good picture of how it is. If it's, maybe it's surveys that are being released or things like that. You can discuss that here. Something else I will mention is you can always include things like graphics in your application in any of the sections. We do find a lot of them within the criteria two through four, to kind of just help explain and give the judge panel a visual for what they're seeing with your narrative and with the program that you're describing. Okay, criteria four, and this is a really important section of the application. This is where you're going to provide the results that really back up how the story that you've been telling of your program. So, you have this excellent program. This is how it works. This is how we designed it and how it's come to where it is today. Now, here's where you're able to really show those results of how successful it's been, the impact it's had across the organization, if it's impacted certain areas more than others. If it's really helping your clientele, things like that, you'll want to make sure you talk about those benefits here. Something else is that this section has a lot of flexibility in the way you present your results. So you can definitely provide as many results as possible. You can provide them in different methods. We've also seen sometimes organizations will provide graphics in an appendix section and refer to them here so that way you can keep the flow of your narrative while still providing all that important information that you want the judge panel to be able to take a look at to really see the impact your program has had. Okay, and then overall, this is going to be criteria five. This is where you're really going to wrap up your application. You're going to provide a summary of the key findings of what you've discussed for your program. What lessons were learned? What is the next future outlook? That's an important question to think about too, is what's coming next with your program? Where is it going from here? Do you already see any changes or things that maybe you want to work on or to enhance the program? This is a great spot to talk about that and to really leave an impression on the judge panel before they wrap up the review of your application. Okay, and the benefits for participating in our awards programs. This is really across the board in not just the HCM awards, but also the technology, education technology, excellence in action. All of our participating applications had the opportunity for recognition or speaking at a panel at the conference, opportunity or recognition for speaking on a podcast, and that would be with our COO, Rachel Cook. So if you are an award winner and you're interested in that, you can feel free to reach out to our awards team, and we are happy to get that moving for you. All of our award winners do receive a discount for the HCM conference. This year, if you did participate in 2025, that conference is going to be February 9th through the 12th. All of the details are on our website. I'm happy to share those with you as well if you're interested in that. Following the 2026 awards, we'll have a conference in 2027 where we recognize all of our 2026 winners in person. We also provide you with an award certificate and a digital badge for any award wins that you receive. You'll be able to find those in your submission portal. So following all of our awards announcements again throughout the whole year, we'll send you an awards results communication email, and that will give you details on how to access those. And we do host them within your submission portal. We do that so you can access them at any point in time. One important thing to keep in mind is when you're creating your application, that applicant profile login email, that's who's going to be able to download that certificate and badge. We can also send it to you if need be, though. All right, and then Brandon Hall Group will produce a press release that we'll post. And another thing that we do is we're very happy to repost any press release that you might come out with if you're an award winner to the Brandon Hall Group blog, just to help promote your award wins even more. All right, and then all organizations, even if you're not considered an award winner, you'll receive a participation certificate and discounted rate at the conference. Okay, and then this is new this year. So like today, these awards webinars are new as of this year, and we'll continue them next year. We are always happy to hear about more topics that you are interested in or need help with an application. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to please email me about that. You can also message me on LinkedIn or email awards@brandonhall.com, and we're happy to try to get some of those webinar topics that you're interested in for next year. We do host or post all of the webinars afterwards. So these are some of the ones we've had for this year on our awards resources website page. You can find that on the Brandon Hall Group Awards page under resources. This is also the link, and we will share this presentation with you after the webinar ends so that you have access to these links as well. I also do office hours every other Friday, and that is going to be year-round going forward. So that's really just time dedicated. It's 30 minutes every other Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and it's dedicated to just answering questions that you might have throughout the application process or that others might have. So feel free to pop in there if you ever do have any questions. Another way to keep in touch and up to date with the awards updates is to follow the Brandon Hall Group on LinkedIn. You'll receive updates across the whole company on everything that's going on. If you want to also follow me, I do post any important updates about our awards programs on my LinkedIn as well. All right, and then that's really going to cover all of that content for this year. Again, we have all of our 2026 submission forms for HCM live on our website, including any new categories that we've added. So definitely start taking a look at those. Our awards brochure will be up probably within the next couple of weeks here, and we're really excited to see all of your submissions this year. I'll go ahead and take a look at the chat really quick. I don't believe we have any questions. No, not at this time. But again, you can email me directly at sam.rome@brandonhall.com, or you can email awards@brandonhall.com with any questions. And thank you so much for joining today. We're looking forward to your submissions, and happy holidays and happy new year.